Shabbat Shalom, Mishpacha. This is Rabbi Simon Altef. A good Sabbath morning to you from North America, and a wonderful Sabbath to all of you, and a wonderful week that is coming ahead after the end of the Sabbath, because in some places in the East, Sabbath already ended. So a wonderful new week to those of you listening from the East, and those of you from the West, a great Sabbath to you, and those of you from the European side, mid-morning or a mid-afternoon to you. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Today, thank you for coming into the room, and I'm certain that you had a great time with the festival that we had recently, festival of Shavuot Pentecost, that you had a good time to sit down with your families and enjoy your families, because at the end of the day, we, the people of Israel, we do the necessary work during the week, and at the end of the week, we want to spend quality time. We may not be able to spend quality time with the families during the week, but you definitely want to spend quality time with your families at the end of the week, at least the 2 days. And now maybe some people are fortunate that they have lockdown and they are with the families. Now, this can be a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing if you love your wife and you love your children, it's a blessing. And if you don't like your wife, or if you're not getting on, it's a curse. So it can work both ways. Same way, the Torah can be a blessing, or the Torah can be a curse to somebody as well. It depends what side of Torah you fall on. I know people who claim Torah this and Torah that, but Torah is a curse in their lives. They have no benefits, no blessings. They have, quarreling in their homes, fighting with their children, fighting with their wives, and so on and so forth. So even their claim of Torah is actually not substantiated by the outward manifestation of Torah. So don't think for a second that the Torah cannot be a curse. The Torah can be a curse, or it can be a blessing. And so we see that in the scriptures, in the books or the letters of the New Testament, we see that Paul writes at one point, and he says that if you do not follow the laws of this book, then it shall be a curse. Then all the written curses be upon you. And he talks about this book, and its curses. So my point is that this book that he's referencing in his letters, it's actually the Torah at that point. And again, I'm not going to talk too much about St. Paul, or Paul's writings as people call him, St. Paul, and I'm using the same term because to me he wasn't St. Paul, he was a rabbi, but nevertheless, a rabbi and a Pharisee according to his own word, and so shall it be. That's what I will call him, Rabbi Paul. Having said that, I got involved recently in a little group in the East, in their lingo, which is kind of my lingo as well from my childhood. And they got involved into a debate regarding the nature of God. And I put a question forward, and I asked the question because these gentlemen, these people who, some of them are Christians, some of them are calling themselves Torah believers, and others are a mixed match, halfway house, like they might be Messianic, and maybe they believe in the Trinity, maybe they don't believe in the Trinity, maybe they believe in the oneness of God, maybe they don't believe in the oneness of God. But there's two different types of people in there. And there's the Unitarian type who say Jesus is not God but man, and perhaps a prophet. There's the other types, Christian traditional ones, who say Jesus is God and of course Messiah and prophet. And then there's a third type, the Torah hardcore, who say that Jesus is no way a God, no way a prophet, and no way he is anything other than just a man at that point. They don't even call him a teacher. So see, these are the 3 or 4 different categories of people that I'm dealing with. And what I'm finding, I'm learning new things. I'm finding that before I even open my mouth and say anything, they're all having fights between themselves because they know each other. And I'm the odd one out because I don't know any of them except maybe one person. So there is this, thing going on in the group, and I posted a question, and I said, how did God love in eternity? Who did God love in eternity? Before creation. Because the Bible says that God is love. So I said, how is God love, and who did He love? Now this question, and my second question was similar, and it said that how is God one? Because in the Bible, they tell me, and they quote to me Isaiah 44:6 and other passages, and they say to me God is one. And I asked them the question, and the word they use in the Arabic language is wahad, which is from the Hebrew word achad. So I asked them, I said, how is He wahad? Because if God is wahad, then He is not love. And if God is love, then He is not wahid. The two contradict each other. Because in love you need love is a relational attribute. In a relational attribute you need a second person. Now Christians justify that by the way, I'll tell you what this type of debate is, because I've sat with many scholars, friends, my friends, and we sat together and we drank tea together and we, munched over different scriptures, Christians, Jews, Muslims, different scholars. And these type of forms of debates are called presupposition apologetics. Let me say that word again. It's a long word. Presupposition apologetics. In presupposition apologetics, you take something that is philosophical and you apply it to God or someone else, and you look for a solution. And this goes into the realm of philosophy, psychology, and other things. And of course, it's through debate and discussion that you try to arrive at an answer. Now, I cannot speak about manifestations of God or what that means in person's life, because these people don't have a clue about what really God's majesty is. What is God, and how do we apply that in our lives practically? They don't have a clue about that, and they're not even ready for that kind of teachings, because to them God is, like Christians say, God is personal, yet He lives miles away. He is near me, yet He is far away. But my question is not that He is near me or is personal or I have a relationship, because these are all words, and words usually 9 times out of 10 are meaningless unless there's a context behind those words, or unless there is actually existential evidence that they have some form of a meaning in your life, or evidence of blessings or curses or those kind of things. So my point, what I'm trying to arrive at, if I say that I have a personal relationship with God, well, if I know the King of the universe, who I am saying over here is God, then surely, if I am the servant of the King, my home, my life should reflect that. In other words, my house should be blessed. My bread should be full. My table should be full. And if my table is empty, and I say that I have a relationship with the King, then that will be somebody will come and slap me on my face and say, what the hell are you talking about? Your table is empty. I don't see blessings in your home. I see you're always fighting with your wife. What are you talking about? What relationship with the King? Doesn't the King, if you are a servant to the King, then surely you should be showing some manifestation, some signs of the King's hospitality in your home. So, and that is absolutely true, because if you claim to be a servant of the King, and please mind those messages that are coming in my phones, because although my phones are not on, they're like just on, but they're like shut down. And one of my phones, I don't know how to do the sound off, so I've actually reduced the volume, but you hear the ping here and there. And the reason for that is that my uncle, beloved uncle in the East, he died this morning on the Sabbath. He passed on from earthly life to eternal life, I could say. And he died from something like a typhoid in hospital. But I believe that he just had a high fever. They killed him. and they probably called it Corona or something, and they'll probably get $39,000 for it. That's really the substance. So I'm getting a lot of messages from family members, talking about that and wanting to speak to me and so on and so forth. That's why you're hearing all these ping noises. I got this phone here, and I'm trying to put it into mute or some kind of silence of the lamps. So that's what I'm trying to do. So hence why that's why I apologize for these pings. So having said that, what I was saying is that if I don't reflect that, and tada for that, condolences as well. If I don't reflect that in my life, then surely, I'm lying, I don't have a relationship, and it's just, I'm playing games with the people. Now, why do I say that? If you said to me, let's take a simple example, you said to me that you know the President of the US, let's take it as Mr. President Trump, that you know the President of the US and you work for him, his name is Mr. Trump. Fair enough. That means that you're connected to the power source. The power source for this country right now, the top guy in power is the president. So if you are in association, or if you are connected in a relationship, that means you have a relationship with the president, the power that's of this country. So if you are in a relationship with him, then if you are working for that man, then surely your home, the car you drive, the clothes you wear, the food you eat, everything will reflect that. People will see it, and people will say, see that man over there? He works for the president. And it reflects it in your life, personal life. That is my point of having a personal relationship. If I see a Christian, and I've heard this statement 1,000 times over, and probably you have too, and they'll say, oh, I'm in a relationship with God. But when you look at their personal lives, it's like nothing is there. So you ask the question, what relationship are you in exactly, my friend? Because I don't see it. And am I missing something? So hence why we were dealing with how can God be echad, one, and how can God be a plurality, multiple? Because as you know, and you know me long enough, that God is both one and God is both plurality. Now, of course, given that the Christians believe that He is a Trinity, and I have no problem with the Trinity, and I'll give it to them, that's their understanding of the plurality of God. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Fair enough. At least they're trying, because if you ask them the question, who did God love in eternity? And at least they will say that He loved Jesus. Okay, fair enough. They at least have an answer, even if it may not be fully correct, but at least they have an answer. But we know from studies done in the past that God is a plurality of lights. And lights, another word to see the lights is energy. God is energy. And God is not a singular energy. God is a plural energy. That's the simplest way to look at it. And these concepts might be readily, easily understandable by people who are in this room, and maybe people who are listening on the YouTube. But these are not easy concepts to understand to an audience that has been, pounded with Jesus is not God or Jesus is God. Those two sides of the spectrum. Because they go by what they read, and they'll say, hey, I read 6 times in Scripture, in the Tanakh, in the Hebrew Bible, translation in English or in their language, it says God is one. And it says God has no one else. And I say to them that that is actually not true, because God can be both. So they say, aren't you contradicting if you say that God is, He is more than one? What do you mean? Are you saying that there's 3 gods? Are you saying that there's 10 gods because you believe in Kabbalah and Ein Sof and 10 attributes of God? So the thing I say to them, no, I'm not saying that you have to accept Kabbalah. I'm not saying that you have to accept the 10 attributes of God in Kabbalah, the Sefirot. I'm not saying that God is 3 gods. I'm not saying that God is 10 gods. But what I am saying, which is provable, it can be proven with historicity and existential help, that God is a plurality of energies, lights. And that's what this is where the word Elohim and the word Yahweh comes in and helps us to understand that from the Ein Sof side, that's that's a different angle, that's a different department. I don't want to go there. It's like CIA. The President Trump has a CIA as one department. He has Homeland Security as another department. He has FBI as another department. I mean, if I'm talking about Homeland Security and terrorism, maybe Homeland Security and terrorism have close links with CIA because, they might be sharing information. But that doesn't mean that Homeland Security and CIA are one. They are not, because they are separate departments, separate areas. So Mr. Trump may be dealing with 3 different law enforcing agencies, one called CIA, one called FBI, one called Homeland Security. Now, they may be connected together as a network so they can share information of who is criminal and, what information they hold in their computers about those particular criminal organizations. But, you can't say, you can say, yeah, there are 3 organizations, and you can say, or maybe there are 4 organizations, but they are also one. In other words, they are one because the president, they all report to the president. And so they are one in the sense that the president is connected to all of them, yet the president is also as an individual person. So God in His infinite abundance, God is one. So it is correct, Shema Israel, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad. But it is also correct that God is plurality as well. And that's where I'm going to take you next before I go into something else. And I think you'll find it fascinating that that is the case. Because we can believe in both, that God is one, that God is a plurality of energies, plurality of lights. So for this, although the Parsha for today is Parsha's Naso, which comes in the book of Numbers, chapters 4, verse 21, but I shall take you today to a very important verse that you'll find in the Abrahamic-Faith, Netzarim Hebraic Study Scriptures. You will not find this word anywhere else translated this way. And for that we have to go to the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, verse 1. And Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, verse 1 says the following. And I shall open it up for you, and I shall read the translation here for you. Let me open it up. Let me open up the Hebrew Bible and pull up the book, Ecclesiastes. As you know, the books are numbered differently in the Hebrew versus the English Bible. So sometimes you have to do a little bit searching because the verses may not be the same. The verses are usually, sometimes the numbers are different. So we open it up to the book of Ecclesiastes, and I will read this verse for you. Let me save this. Okay, it says as follows: Uzchor et borecha bime bechuretecha ad asher lo yavu yime hara vehigiu shanim asher tomar ein li vehem chafetz. Bit of a mouthful actually, these words, but I'll read the first part of the important part of the verses. And it says this: Uzchor et borecha. Okay, we'll just stop there. And basically that says, remember now your Creator. In the English translation that is given is remember now your Creator. But the actual Hebrew behind there, that I did not translate deliberately with the plural, is creators. Remember now your creators. Meaning that there is more than one. Now I don't claim to know exactly how many there are. I don't make such claims, because if I made such claims that I know exactly how many lights there are, how many pluralities there are, then I'm claiming to be God, because I'm all knowing, I'm all wise, and I know everything. And the answer is that no, that is not true. I don't know everything. I'm not all knowing. I'm not omniscient, and that I can only tell you from Scripture that it allows room for us to understand that God is more than one. At times, He describes Himself as one. At other times, He describes Himself as more than one. So, as long as it opens up the possibility that God can be a plurality, that is enough. That destroys the case of God being just a singular unity. Because a singular unity, a monad has no windows. And when a monad has no windows, it cannot love anything but self. And that's called contradictory love. Again, a bit of a mouthful. These are philosophical statements, and they need to have understanding. And in order to understand these statements, you have to spend time and re-listen and listen over 5-10 times, and then pray to God for understanding. Because I am not claiming to give you understanding over here. I am only pointing you to scriptures within the Hebrew Bible that help us see that God does show himself at times as a plurality and at other times as a singularity. But even the word echad, the Hebrew word echad, with the ending with a dalit, can also be ending with a tav, and it can become plural by itself. So yes, that's right, Lakshmi class. He can be both. Neither contradicts each other. He can be both. But we cannot say for certainty that how many, what does that plurality mean? Does it mean 3? Does it mean 13? Does it mean 33? I cannot say that. I don't know. The true answer is I don't know. So the I am is the plurification of the whole thing as one. Now, Jesus of Nazareth, and I will try to get the scripture for you. And let me just open the Bible, and then I can open the Bible at, let me see, John chapter 10, verse 30. John chapter 10, verse 30. I and the Father are one. So, the Father, you could say, is a plurality. The Father is a plurality of all the lights. Because He is the source. In the Hebrew Bible, He is called the spring of life. That's John chapter 10. John chapter 10, Lakshmi class, verses 30. John 10, 30. And in the Hebrew Bible, He is called, in the book of Jeremiah, He is called the source of life. The Father, that is. The source of life. Everything emanates from the Father. Now when Yeshua, Jesus of Nazareth, when He said that I and the Father are, or maybe I'm speaking the wrong word, or am, one, it's basically saying that I become a unity. I and God are a unity with each other. So you can use the word echad, meaning that you two are one. You now become joined with the plural lights. So if you said to me, Rabbi Simon, I and the Father am one, and I'll say, absolutely you're one. Because when we go to do manifestations, when we go to seek our desires, that is what we are doing. We are becoming one with the light. Because every one of us on this earth, every one of us, whether my uncle that died, whether my father, whether me, whether you out there, we all carry the light of God at some level. And it's seen as an energy. Because it's seen as an energy, we all can be one with God together. That means we are all connected. Now, it's hard to understand, but it is easy to understand too. If you just sit back and think about it, we are all connected. Doesn't matter you call yourself a Hindu, a Muslim, Christian, Jew, whatever, pagan, non-pagan, whatever, witchcraft, whatever label you want to give yourself, it doesn't matter. Because we all have the source, that very source that the Father in eternity is. And that is why the Father is love as well. Because He is not one light. He is a plurality of lights. And that's what we see in scriptures. But I want to take you to another place which I find fascinating. Because, when I sit down here and I'm, sitting here alone, munching away my peanuts, sometimes I open the Bible and I look at these passages and I say, well, fascinating passages that God is describing Himself, or somebody else is describing God with a plurality. And so with this in mind, I wanted to pull out something else that I wanted to read to you. And I want to go to the book of Samuel for that, the prophet Samuel. let me see if I can find those verses in my Bible here. So please give me a moment. Let's see. And for this we have to go to the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, what's called the Old Testament. And you will find this in here in the book of Samuel. Let me see, where is it? Okay, we want to go to the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 4, verse 8. Now let me just note this down in my reference. As I'm speaking, I'm making a note of this. 1 Samuel, chapter 4, verse 8. And you're going to find this fascinating, because this is going to help you to get at least some understanding of what we're dealing with and what is it that we worship and what does it mean. Now in the book of Samuel, 1 Samuel chapter 4 verse 8, it says as follows. This is now coming in from the people who were technically unbelievers. They were not believers of the God of Israel, and this is what they are saying about the God of Israel. And they say, it says in verse 7, and the Philistines were afraid, for they said, a God has come to the camp. And they said, woe to us, for there has not been such a thing till now. Now the word for God there is Elohim. As you know, it can be used as powers, power, or God, or gods. It can be used in all ways. All of those are correct. But here's the next one. Here is the same verse, Elohim, is used in the next verse. And look how the translators of the King James Version of the Bible and other Bibles translated it. You can see the bias. How come they didn't translate the word Elohim as gods before, but now they do? It says, woe to us, who shall deliver us from the hand of these mighty gods? See that? The same word Elohim is used, but this time the Philistines are saying, who shall save us from the mighty gods of Israel? And it says, these are the gods. Again the same word, Ha-Elohim. These are the gods that struck the Egyptians with all the plagues in the wilderness. Now you tell me that here, one second. Here, I did not write the Tanakh, the Old Testament. I did not write it. I wasn't there, and I wasn't watching what the Philistines are doing. But I do read over here what the Philistines said. And you can all read it for any translation of the Bible. Any translation. It doesn't have to be the Abrahamic-Faith. It could be King James. It could be NIV. Whatever's your favorite translation, that you can open it and read it. The Philistines are saying that the Israelites worship the mighty gods, plural. So what does that tell you? That tells you exactly what I'm telling you, that the word Elohim correctly should always be translated powers, or in the English language, gods, in plural. But does that mean that God is 3, or God is 5, or God is 10, or God is 50? We don't know, is the honest answer. We just don't know. But we do know that it is a possibility that God is infinity and God is a plurality of powers, lights, energies. The best way I can describe it is God is a plurality of energies. And I think that sits really nicely with me, and that will sit really nicely with you, because we don't have to argue about a trinity, some other formula, a unity, blah, blah, blah. None of that we have to argue about. So hopefully that is just the one element. But let me give you something else to add a little spice to your morning of the Shabbat, because on the Sabbath day, right, we need to introduce something new, at least something that's different. And this is why I always remember a really good teacher of mine from my computer engineering classes, who was in England, and I remember his name very well to this day. His name was Jeff Lorde. A very good man, great man actually, great man, great teacher, absolutely lovely man, lovely teacher. And he had a really good sense of humor to give his class when he used to teach classes. And he would say that he would introduce a new word in the class, and he would say, go to the Sunday barbecue and use this new word to impress your friends. He would kind of talk like that in English language. And it was quite funny. And he came up with the word. One day he gives us a new word, and he said, here is a new word for you, my students, today. And you can take it to your barbecue talk, and you can introduce this word, and everybody will be impressed with you of your English. And the word was unobtrusive. So he was introducing a concept of the engineering side in the computers department, in the computer side, and he said, these things are unobtrusive. Now go learn what that means and apply it, and you can apply it in your conversations. Adelia, you're asking the question, do you think the knit run considers the angels as gods too? Sorry, what is knit run? I didn't quite understand the maybe you spelled it differently to what I understand it. Knit run. Who are the knit runs? Not sure, Adelia, but if you could just please type it in again what that means, and I'll be able to answer it. So, having said that, so I wanted to spice up your morning a little bit. And let me for your spicing up, and this is something you can take to the bank, and no rabbi on this earth can deny this, by the way. These rabbis know this. Jewish rabbis, midstream, sorry. Okay, Adelia, midstream. Okay, you mean the Egyptians. yeah, get some curry. So, Adelia is saying that, do you think that the midstream, that's the Egyptians, do you think that they consider the angels as God too? No, Adelia, they did not consider the angels as gods. They just considered them as messengers. So, coming back to the verse in question, and I wanted to give you this because this is something that the Jewish rabbis, I'm talking about the Orthodox Jewish rabbis, they know this, but they have no answer for it, and they don't even try to answer it because they know that what that verse says. But in your English language, you will not know it. If all you read is English, you will not know it. Eddie's having some problems with the audio. Everybody else okay with the audio side? Or is it just Eddie's? Okay, so everybody else is okay. Okay, great. Maybe there's a little blip. And sometimes you have a blip and audio disappears. Okay, so let's go. For that, we have to go to the book of Bereshith. That is the book of Genesis. And I will take you there. And I will take you to chapters, let's see, let me go up and up. Genesis chapters 20 verse 13, and it says as follows. This is from the King James Version, by the way. And it came to pass, when God caused me to wander from my father's house, that I said unto her, this is the kindness which thou shalt show unto me at every place whither we shall come, say of me, he is my brother. Okay, the Hebrew. I think it's important I read the Hebrew over here. Let's see. And it came to pass. Vayehi ka'asher hitu oti Elohim. I'll stop there because I don't want to read the rest. It's not connected to the passage as what I'm trying to explain. Although I can read it if you want it for context, but I'll just stop there so that you can get a good understanding. Again, verse 13, Vayehi ka'asher hitu oti Elohim. Now remember, I spoke about the word Elohim before as well, as powers, or power. It's used, it should be used, technically it should always be powers. But here the translators, because mim is a plural, and they chose to keep it singular because the Jews want to force that, hey, God is simply majesty, Elohim is simply majesty. But that is not true, by the way. He is not majesty. He can be majesty, and he can be plural too. Both of them are true. Not one is not more truer than the other. Now, what's the plural in here? The plural in here is the verb that is used over here. The verb that is used over here for plural is hitu oti Elohim. Hitu oti Elohim. They caused me to wander. They. The word They is how it should have been translated. They caused me to wander. The rabbis have an immense problem with that today. In 2020, all the Orthodox rabbis, they hate that passage because they don't know how to answer it. Because here God is called by Abraham. They, not he. So with this, I rest my case that you have evidence in the Bible that God is not described only as a he. He can be described as a they, which means more than one. And again, if you ask me how many, I could give you an opinion, but I could never say to you I am 100% correct on that opinion, because there are many opinions and each person may have a right to their opinion and an accuracy applied to that. Now, for me, it's not so much what opinion I carry, but it's what effects do I help people with in their lives. Because if I'm teaching you Torah and your lives are not changing, then what a waste of time for me to teach you Torah, because your lives should be changing. So with that in mind, when we go to Parsha 35, Naso, and of course we just come out of the festival as well, which is all about Torah, as you know. And so let me go there. And this is the book of Numbers, chapters 4, verses 21. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, take also the sons of Gershon throughout the Batim, throughout the houses of their Avot, their fathers, by their mishpachot, by their families. From 30 years old and upward until 50 years old shall you number them, all that enter into perform the service, to do the work in the tent of the appointed times. This is the service of the mishpachot of the Gershoni, to minister and to carry. And they shall carry the curtains of the tent, and the tent of the appointed times, his covering, and the covering of the blue leather that is above upon it, and the hanging for the door of the tent of the appointed times, and the hanging of the court, and the hanging of the door of the gate of the court, which is by the tent and by the altar round about, and their cords, and all the instruments of their service, and all that is made for them, so shall they serve. At the appointment of Aaron and his sons shall be all the service of the sons of the Gershoni, in all their burdens and in all their service, and you shall appoint to them in charge all their burdens. This is the service of the mishpachot, families of the sons of Gershon, in the tent of the appointed times, and their charge shall be under the hand of Ithamar, the son of Aaron, the Kohen priest. As for the sons of Merari, you shall number them after their mishpachot, families, by the Batim, houses of their Avot, fathers. From 30 years old and upward, even to 50 years old, shall you number them, everyone that enters into the service to do the work of the tent of the appointed times. And this is the charge of their burden, according to all their service in the tent of the appointed times, the boards of the tent, and the bars there, and the pillars there, and sockets there, and the pillars of the court round about, and their sockets, and their pins, and their cords, with all their instruments, with all their service. By the name you shall reckon the instrument of the change of their burden. This is the service of the mishpachot, of families of the sons of Merari, according to all their service, in the tent of the appointed times, under the hand of Ithamar, the son of Aaron, the priest, the Kohen. And Moshe and Aaron and the chief of the congregation registered the sons of the Kohathi after their mishpachot, after their families, and after the Beit, after the house of their Avot, their fathers, from 30 years old and upward, even to 50 years old, everyone that enters into the service for the work in the tent of the appointed times. And those that were registered of them by their mishpachot families were 2,750. These were they that were registered of the mishpachot of the Kohathi, all that might do service in the tent of the appointed times, which Moshe and Aaron did number according to the commandment of Yahweh by the hand of Moshe. And those that were registered of the sons of Gershon throughout their mishpachot, their families, and by the Beit, the house of their Avot, the fathers, from 30 years old and upward, even to 50 years old, everyone that enters into the service for the work in the tent of the appointed times, even those that were registered of them throughout their mishpachot by the Beit of their Avot, were 2,630. These are they that were registered of the mishpachot of the sons of Gershon, of all that might do service in the tent of the appointed times, whom Moshe and Aaron did number according to the commandment of Yahweh. And those that were registered of the Mishpachot of the sons of Merari throughout the Mishpachot by the Beit of the Avot, from 30 years old and upward even to 50 years old, everyone that enters into the service for the work in the tent of the appointed times. Even those that were registered of them after their Mishpachot were 3,200. Those be those that were registered of the Mishpachot, families of the sons of Merari, whom Moses, Musa, and Aaron registered according to the word of Yahweh by the hand of Moshe and Musa. All those that were registered of the Levim, whom Moses, and Aaron, and the chief of Israel registered after their Mishpachot families and after the Beit house of their Avot fathers. From 30 years old and upward even to 50 years old, everyone that came to do the service of the ministry and the service of the burden in the tent of the appointed times. Even those that were registered of them were 80,580. According to the commandment of Yahweh that were registered by the hand of Moshe, Musa, everyone according to the service and according to the burden, thus were they registered as of him as Yahweh commanded Moshe. May those who hear the scriptures be benefited and blessed. Give me a moment, please. Okay, so here what we are shown is that Moses had a number of sons that are mentioned here, and Aaron had a number of sons. And this scripture is referring to Moses' sons and their service, what they are meant to do, and it's referring to Aaron and his sons. Now note that those who became from the tribe of Levi, those who became priests from Moses' side, children's side, by the way, they were only allowed to serve for 20 years, between 30 to 50. That was totality of their service. Now Moses, by the way, was a great uncle to me. Great, and I don't know how many grades I have to count to get to Moses. He was my uncle. Now, the sons of Aaron, and one is listed in there, that son of Aaron is the one that was put in charge, but there is no date. In other words, there's no age limit. So Aaron's sons, we know that 2 died, and we know that 2 survived. And so out of those 2, one is mentioned in there. And the sons of Aaron that survived and produced children, I am from the line of those 2 sons. Now I know which son I belong to. I belong to the son that comes to the house of Zadok. So that is not mentioned in there, by the way. And so having said that, the sons of Aaron's service is endless. It is to the ending of the age of the Kohen. In other words, the Kohen is not allowed to relinquish service. Once he goes into service, he's old enough to serve, he is in service till he dies, till the day he dies. He's in service. So I cannot, so therefore, me, myself, I cannot say to you tomorrow, hey, I've had enough, I'm fed up, that's it, I'm going, bye-bye. I can't do that. Even if I don't give lectures to people, if I don't teach people the Torah, I still have to be in service till the day I die. That is a commandment unto us, the sons of Aaron. And of course, Moses' sons, they could have said at 50, that's it, I'm done, I'm retiring, I'm going and doing something else. They were allowed to do that. I am not allowed to do that. If I did that, let's say I did that, I would be in contravention of Torah, and I will be under severe penalty of the Torah. So I definitely cannot do that. I have thought about it, and you can bet your bottom dollar that I've thought about it. I've thought about saying, you know what, I've had enough, that's it, bye-bye. I'm not going to teach you anymore. But I'm so far invested into the Torah, so much invested, that even if I wanted to, I couldn't walk away from the Torah. I just couldn't do it, even if I wanted to. So therefore, I will always have a part to play in the Torah with you and with my students all over the world. My students are all over the world, and I will always have a part to play with them, always in their lives. And with that, I wanted to tell you something, that is that there are, my students who are studying under me, and they are getting their benefits and increases, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy that their lives are changing, because Torah is all about changing people's life. Hitting the mark is not about how many Sabbaths you keep and how many Sabbaths you get right and how many you get wrong. Hitting the marks is about how fruitful and how beautiful and how happy your life is. And I had one of my students here, if I may mention her name, if she gives me the permission, or I won't mention it, I'll just say by reference. She's a female student of mine, and she wrote into me, and she's very happy that she passed her teacher's exam last week. And of course, I'm extremely happy for her. I'm very happy for her life and for her blessings in her life. And Baruch Hashem, Yahweh, that she is doing great, and she's going to go from strength to strength. Baruch Hashem. That is basically the Torah that I love. That is the Torah that I teach. And that is the Torah I want to be involved with for the rest of my life. I don't want to be involved with the Torah where I tell you, hey, if you didn't keep the Sabbath right, bang, here's a whip on your backside because you're being stupid and idiot and you didn't do this thing right. No, I don't want to be that person. I want to be the person who tells you that if you got your Sabbath wrong, no problem, we start all over again. And we get it right the next time. And if you don't get it right, we try again the next time, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next, until you get it right. That's the teacher that I am. This is how I teach. I don't go around using the Torah, and I have seen it in the past. I have seen teachers who have used the Torah to bash people. Hey, you didn't do this on the Sabbath. Hey, why did you start your car on the Sabbath? Why did you vacuum the house on the Sabbath? Don't you know you shouldn't be doing this? Etc. You see, many people out there, they have made Sabbath a tool to attack people, attack students, attack loved ones, and they create all sorts of chaos in their families. But the Sabbath doesn't say any of that. The Sabbath doesn't say you can't start your car. The Sabbath doesn't say you can't vacuum your house. The Sabbath doesn't say you can't turn your TV on. All of these things are created by men who created them after the Sabbath was established. And as you know, the Sabbath was established prior to us having a TV in our homes. So we must be very careful of what we do with our families and how we impose that you can't wear this dress, and you can't wear pants because you're a woman, and you can't wear a blouse if you're a woman. We can't do that. That is not Sabbath. That is Torah bashing with a tool that you're not meant to do so. You can't wear jewelry, you can't put nose ring, you can't do this, you can't do that. By the way, that is totally out of the question of Torah's justice and mercy. Torah calls for justice and mercy, and I have to deal with it every week. Every week there's a case where I have to deal with justice and mercy in a family, because they're fighting about something, they're arguing over something, they're not agreeing with each other, and it creates more and more and more and more fights. Because when you focus your attention on arguments, guess what's coming to your home next time? So we must take away our focus, our attention to things that we want and we desire. That's why I keep telling my students that write your affirmations, write your list. Yesterday was a wonderful time actually, because yesterday I was not able to get to all of you, of course, because I don't have everybody's number or email addresses. And yesterday was the lunar eclipse, and it started in the east from around, I think it was 11 something, 11:45 perhaps our time, or maybe it was a little bit later than that. And it lasted, it was basically from 1:45 their time, 11:45 to 12:45, 1:45, 2:45. Yeah, so about anywhere between 11 and 3 o'clock. So I was able to calibrate that time with the Eastern time over here and figure out, what time the lunar eclipse starts and what time it finishes. Now, why is that important for us? Because all you hear about the eclipses is, hey, my goodness, so we're going to die, the world is collapsing. You hear all those nonsenses out of there. I had a student of mine yesterday, he was giving me this kind of nonsense. Hey, Rabbi, we're going to die. When's the Messiah coming back next week? And I said, calm down, we're not going to die. And no, there's no revolution starting in America, and no, the Messiah is not coming back next week either. We've got a long ways to go yet. I said to him, love your family, enjoy your life, and use the Torah to make your life beautiful. That's what I told him yesterday. I said, don't worry about it, because there are many prophecies that are yet to be fulfilled. They haven't even started yet. I said, they are not in America, by the way. Those prophecies are to do with Middle East, and we haven't even got there. So my books that are put out there are still accurate. They're still correct, that we are yet to get there, and we're not there yet. So we cannot say for certainty that next week the Messiah is turning up, because it's not going to be the case. So having said that to him, I said, stop focusing on the mundane. And, why are we having the riots? I said, that's a mundane. Stop focusing on that. Because, of course, there is an agenda. It is anybody who sits back and looks will know that we have false flag operations going on in this country. We have agenda-based politics. We have Marxist ideology, sadomasochistic Marxist ideology, where people's lives are being destroyed, homes, businesses, being destroyed for what? For agenda-based things. So we understand that. And so therefore anybody who just sits back and look will know that this is not about black and white. This is actually an agenda. Black people are being used as a tool to try to destroy the president's reputation, and by thus allowing him not to come back into power. That's basically what's going on out there. It's not about, the black man was killed or not killed. It's not about that. That is just a side, what I call a false flag or a psyops. That's a psyops basically. And we don't need to, we need to concern ourselves with our safety of our property, and the safety of our family. That's what we need to concern ourselves with. So that's basically America right now in a nutshell. So having said that, we must be calm, and we must be collected, and we must use our manifestations, our desires, and we can. We can use our manifestations, our desires, to right this country's wrongs. In other words, if you want a prosperous country, write an affirmation, work on it. That's what you should be thinking about. You shouldn't be thinking about riots. You should be thinking about, how do I make this country prosperous? How do I make my family prosperous? What do I need to do? What tools do I have in the Torah that allow me to do that? So yesterday was a tool. The solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse are tools that allow us to do that. If you write your affirmations, your script, at the time of the solar or lunar eclipse, it's a very auspicious time. Very, very powerful. If you chant your words of your script during that time, if you call on to certain angels during that time that are connected to those days, for instance, Cassiel is an angel that was connected last night to the Sabbath. Cassiel. If Cassiel's name was called upon yesterday, then Cassiel will become your helper. And so therefore, these are very auspicious times. And rather than worry about what's happening in California and why are they breaking the stores down, I'm not worried about that. I concern myself with, how do I use this time to benefit myself and the lives of many other people? And that's what you should be doing. Whenever you hear about a lunar eclipse, and make a note of it. Whenever you hear, find out what dates is going to occur. A lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse, and you should be getting ready to put your, powwow on, and, put your affirmations in action. When you put your affirmations in action, you will tremendously benefit. It's such a powerful time. If you did a affirmation, if you wrote an affirmation, or if you spoke an affirmation, let's just say speaking, if you spoke an affirmation that you write 1,000 times during this time, it's like speaking it, 10 million times at other times. That's the difference. It's so powerful. So let's take a simple one. Let's say that you spoke the affirmation, I am debt-free, at this time, and you spoke it 1,000 times. That is so powerful that it will come effectively into your life fast, because it's that particular time that's doing it, and you're utilizing that time when the angels are in a certain formation, the skies are in a certain formation, the moon and the earth are in a certain formation, and the sun, that its power is multiplied. absolutely tremendously. So whatever affirmation that you have, may it be I am debt free or I have financial freedom, it will become very powerful. So write this down for yourselves for next time, that next time you hear about a lunar or a solar eclipse, mark the times and get ready for action. Because when you get ready for action, see how your lives will change. That is the power of the Torah, by the way. That is the tools that we have to put into effect hitting the mark. And you will find wonderful results. Wonderful results. Tremendously wonderful results. So I leave you with this little lecture, small amounts of information that will help you tremendously. It's a lot of information I've given in a small amount of time, but you must utilize it, because I have found two things. I did create the meditation last week that I offered to people who wanted to have it, which is to deal with your negativities and blocks that people have. And if those of you want it, you can always write to me at Shimon63, SHIMOUN 63, SHIMOUN 63 at yahoo.com, and I'm more than happy to send it to you free. And if you listen to it, it will tremendously benefit your life. There is another person in the room that I don't use his name for privacy reasons. He actually is tremendously benefiting right now. All he's doing, listen to this, all he's doing is listening to my audios, meditation audios, the rise of abundance, the activating the third eye, the chakra, third eye chakra. All he's doing is doing that right now. And he hasn't actually particularly wrote any particular manifestation or like affirmations for himself. He's not done the affirmations bit yet, but he might do that. But he told me that all I've done is listen to your audios, and I've listened to them religiously every day. And he goes, I have had a tremendous blessing in my life, tremendous. Finances increased, family life, other things. He is seeing tremendous change. I'm so happy for him. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. So therefore, listen carefully, please. I'm as a father to you, I'm as a teacher to you. And I want you to be blessed in your lives with the Torah that Yahweh has given us, that is written through the great uncle of mine, Moses. He wrote the Torah, and what a wonderful blessing we have today. And use it to your benefit, and so that your wives, your sons, your daughters can be having a beautiful and happy life with you as your spouses, as your children and children's children. May you be a blessing to all Israel, children of Israel. May you be a blessing to all the world, as Yahweh has told us and commanded us, that you will be a blessing to everyone around you. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Toda Rabba for listening. Thank you for listening. Rabbi Kefa, over to you.
Toda Rabba, Hakonim, if I could be heard, can I get a one? I want to do a mic check. Make sure I'm coming in. Baruch Hashem. Good things always. Toda Hakonim. I tell you, how many of you understand that big things come in small packages? How many of you really understand that from telling you, great things come in. Many people can concern themselves with the big things, the giant things, but when you really look at it in essence, there's no substance to it. Because I tell you, it's those little things in life that means a lot. If you agree with that, put up a capital L. It's the little things in life, the little, that people call minute, I'm telling you, it's the little things in life that really, really mean so much. As I let Pharaoh exit stage left. It's those little things in life that mean so much. And you can take that and apply it in different situations and scenarios in your life, and it'll be beneficial to you. But before I move forward, commiserations are going to the passing of a family member. And I would like to ask you this question, and you can respond either via mic or you can text it in and I'll read it. But in memory of your uncle, what is the one thing that he left you with, if you don't mind? in memory of your uncle, what is the one thing that he left you with in this life? If you like the mic, just raise your hand, I'll give it back to you. Or if you like to text it in, either way. But just in memory of your uncle who had just passed, what is the one thing? You see, this is a broader question for all of us. You know, we have this great gift of life, but the question is, what are we doing with the gift that we've given? I mean, what kind of legacy are we going to leave behind? When you're remembered, what will they say about you? What is like the one thing that, you know, people will say about you? Now, you can't say, well, I would want, you know, this person to say this about me, because they're going to say it themselves. But it's the essence of what you do with this life. Corey said, I can't speak, but I can speak, but not sure how to raise my hand on your face. Okay, yeah, here you go. I'll give you the mic real quick. You can, you know, give honor and give memory to your uncle, Bugashim.
Yeah, to for that, Rabbi Kefa, I just want to say a few words for my passing away uncle. That what I remember about him is that my uncle was a good man. You know, when my mother was alive, I remember him as a little kid. He used to come to our home and he used to give us, you know, as little kids, he used to give us little amounts of money to go buy sweets. He was a good man, kind man. And the most thing that I remember about him is that he would always make jokes. You know, when you're sitting with him, he was a humorous kind of man. He would make a joke and then, you know, kind of make everybody laugh. So I remember his attitude of being a bit of a joker. And I guess, you know, with his passing, I will always remember that he was a good man and a hearty man. You know, he would always joke about things and you know, make everybody in the room laugh, and all kind of laugh and talk about it afterwards. And but of late, you know, he was a good chess player. He was playing chess with my dad. My dad used to go to his home recently. My dad would always go to his house, or he'll come to my dad's house, and they'll always play chess. They love chess, and so they'd get along with that and pass their time like that. So, you know, I'm certain that my uncle is passed into eternity, and he will return soon in another body. Baruch Hashem Yahweh, because there is no hell and there is no heaven. These are created by men to put you into fear, and God recycles everybody back, and so it shall be. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. May the name of the God of Israel be great and magnified forever and ever. Todah for that, Rabbi Kefa, over to you.
Yeah, Todah for that, HaKohim. I mean, if I could be heard, can I get Todah for that. It's really nice to hear about, you know, what people have left behind. Because I think that's important. Now, I'm pretty sure he had children, right? Did he have children? So I'm pretty sure his name carries on. Hashem. He's coming from the east. I guarantee you. I guarantee you he had children. You don't get too many people he's not having children, so yeah, Baruch Hashem. So he does live on that way as well. And just like we understand, and I have come into understanding, you know, I really understand when people say, you know, that they have passed on to the next life. That really means a lot to me. Hakohen says plenty of sons and one are married, Baruch Hashem. Yeah, he indeed does live on, and he definitely left a legacy of, I'll tell you, being a joker, that's a great, laughter is such a great medicine. So Baruch Hashem, I give thanks for that. Now to get into your side of things, as we move on and continue on in our Torah, and I'm a couple of minds right now. One mind is this. I'm going to ask you all a question. How many of you know, especially you students that have the Abrahamic-Faith Bible, you should be clued up on this. But those of you who don't, this may really give you energy and desire to really want to get the Abrahamic-Faith Bible in your hands. How many of you understand the Sotah? How many of you understand we're dealing with the Parsha Naso? And Naso, we have the Sotah situation. Put up an S if you understand the Sotah. If you understanding of what Sotah is, you saying, Rabbi Kefa, what is that? Some kind of meal or something? Is that some kind of sauce put on my lamb chop? How many of you understanding of the Sotah and what Sotah really means? Any put up an S if you understand it. You students of Torah, you should have some understanding. Notwithstanding that you're not a Kohen in the gate, but you should have some understanding of the Sotah. And so this is why I firmly believe we need to discuss this matter of the Sotah. Well, the Sotah, and now as I go into explaining it, then the light bulb may come on for some of you, because Sotah goes back to the garden. How many of you understand that? The Sotah, if you have the Abrahamic, I'm telling you, the Abrahamic-Faith Bible is like gold. It's more valuable than gold does. Not it's more valuable than all the material wealth and the ingredients, the elements of the earth itself, and all the material gold and silver and diamonds and rubies that you can find on the face of this earth times 1 billion. Tell you, you have the Abrahamic-Faith Bible, and you really get an understanding of the snake and blah, 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 and what really went on in the garden. Really get some great understanding. And Sotah was in the garden, believe me. Sotah judgment was passed in the garden. For those of you who didn't know. Yeah, there you go, Oliver. Oliver know about some Lilith. That was the first recorded judgment that we see of the Sotah. So now maybe the dots may be connecting now for some of you, but what I'm talking about today is the, let's just say, the ingredients of a Sotah. Like, I'm not going to get into the Kohen side because I'm not a Kohen, I'm Judah. I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn last night, and I don't claim Kohen, and I don't wear, and I don't have Aaron's beard. I don't claim to be a Kohen, but what we need to all understand is this, and my other mind is this. The question I have for you is this, is who handles sin, in your opinion? Who are the sin handlers? Who handles sin? And Naso kind of brings this out to us in a way and explains it to the children of Israel and the people of the books and the believers of the Bible, whoever they may be, if they really, believe in the Bible in action like Nike and just do what the Bible says you're supposed to do. But who handles sin? That was a big thing for me coming up. Coming up as a young lad and getting all this conditioning that I received in North America was like, number one, what is sin? And number two, who handles it? Because we were told so many times in our conditioning what sin was, which really is not what sin really is. Now that I really understand things, and all thanks to the Kohen and the gate for that, Rabbi Simon out there. But again, who handles sin? You ever thought about that question? Think about it for a minute. Because in my conditioning coming up, there were many handlers of sin. Anybody, you know what I'm saying? There are many handlers, like, okay, I got to go to the priest, the Catholic priest, and I got to just say these Hail Marys. I got to say these Our Father prayers, and I got to say these prayers to Mother Mary, and then I'm good for a week until all of my sins are racked up during that week. I go back and I do the same thing. You know what I mean? It's like Luxury Class is talking about, Shabbat Shalom to you, Luxury Class. He's talking about just a bunch of, you're going through like rote formality, or just like, it's just a routine. To where, and we've been conditioning this for a long time. To where when reality can slap us in the face and we can get real with how the universes and the earth is all connected, and we begin to understand what sin really is, then we have to know how to deal with our sin. So who did you, if you don't mind me asking, who did you go to deal with your sin? I mean, maybe if I put it that way, it becomes personal, the way you can really begin to understand this. Like, who dealt with your sin? Or has your sin been dealt with? I mean, maybe that's another question to be asked. Besides, how did you handle your sin as you know it? You know what I mean? I know, you know what I'm saying? I don't say myself. I mean, come on. I mean, it's not too personal. I mean, this is a family question. I mean, it's something that you think about. What do you have in your wallet? I mean, think about it. Did you deal with your sin? Have you dealt with your sin? I mean, how do you deal with your sin? Who is the sin handler? These are important questions. And as students of Hakoni, Rabbi Simon Alkef, a lot of you have not only one leg up, you have several legs up on this. because you have already taken the necessary steps and procedures and went through the processes of how to, rectify and like we learn in Parsha Naso, how to recompense for your sin. Because I'm teaching this to my daughter, and she said that everything in life, everything that you do in life has repercussions to it. There's repercussions to everything that you do. Everything that you say in life has repercussions to it. And then also you must restitute for everything you say. Yeah, because again, how many of you come out of Christianity in some form? Put up a capital C. Because, see, Christianity will kind of whitewash over this real quick. You know what they'll say? Oh, just say, oh, brother, I forgive you, and then that's it. How many of you been through that? How many? And it's just like whitewashed over. Oh, just say, Jesus forgive, and then that's the end of it. Well, that's not the end of it. And if you still have that kind of thought process, then you haven't dealt with your sin. You ain't know what sin is. If you still think, well, I can just, I'm sorry. I don't even have to say sorry to that person that I hurt. I don't even have to make no kind of recompense because, Jesus said, I'm under his grace, and that if I forgive, then I'll be forgiven. So I'm just going to ask for forgiveness, and then I can just go on with my life. Because I ask for forgiveness from God, you see. I just ask for forgiveness from God, and that's okay, because at the end of the day, the relationship with me and God is what matters, not my relationship with God's creation, meaning humanity. That doesn't matter. See, I can do anything to humanity, God's creation, as long as I have that good relationship with God Himself vertically. And that's how a lot of people think. Chadasha said Jesus paid it all. That's what they think. Love your Christ. Jesus paid it. So also, Jesus. So love your Christ, saying Jesus paid it all. So off to sin I go. And that's the kind of conditioning that we've been put under. Yet at the same time, never really understanding sin, never even really dealing with sin, and never really even understanding what sin really is at the end of the day, and how to deal with it. You see, so this is why it's very important that we have this understanding. And for those of you who are not under the umbrella of Elohim, you really need to understand there is a sin handler. If you believe in the Bible gives you the recipe for the sin handler, who deals with the sin. Where do you go to when you do sin? What needs to be done? And you see, there's steps and there's processes that, needs to be done. You see? And it's very important that we understand. Ask the people of the books. Ask the people who have embraced the Torah and have taken the yoke of Torah upon us. It's very important for us to understand it, not so much so for everybody else outside of the Torah. But again, I just described to you many different scenarios on how they deal with their sin and how they handle their sin. Some go to the Catholic priest. Some just kneel down and pray and say Shabbat Shabbat, and that's it. Some might say paid for, like you all gave examples of. Because not only can you sympathize with these people, but you empathize with them because one time or another you were there as well. So give thanks to God that you're no longer there. You have gone from weakness to strength and from strength to more strength in your understanding. That's so very important because Naso shines headlights on, and I'm talking about the halogen ones, deep bulbs on how you deal with your sin. And who do you go to for what you may... How many of you went to the Kohen and this may be in your personal conversations with the Kohen, as you all should have a personal conversation with the Kohen in some way, shape, form, or fashion. All of you should. He's our Kohen. He's for us. The Kohen in the gate is for the children of Israel to utilize. How many of you had conversations with the Kohen, and when you had conversations with the Kohen, you realized that the sin that you thought you were carrying for so long was not sin? Put up a capital H if there's you. A capital S. If you realize, like, wow. So I'm telling you this, and it really, So I wasn't sinning. Wow, look at him. I mean, it makes me feel a whole lot better. But at the same time, you were carrying this for years. Some of you carrying, just baggage or worthless things that you thought had weight, yet it had none whatsoever. When you come and you dealt and you came in front of those that know how to handle sin from the biblical point of view, not from man's made up mumbo jumbo, but from what the Bible says that everybody says they believe in some way, shape, form, or fashion, and in some books and some not, but in totalitarianism of the Torah or of the whole of the Bible, including the scriptures and the prophets and the Psalms, when you look at the as a whole, as is scripted in the 66 books, then you realize, okay, what does the Bible say about sin and how to deal with it? And Naso, again, shines a headlight on, okay, this is how you deal with sin. You must, and this is why it's so very important to have a going in the gate. This is why I ask every person that claims to be under the umbrella of the Torah, I asked him, well, who's your Kohen? Where do you go to? Who's your Kohen in the gate? What's his name? That's a very important question. Because as you all know, if Torah is life, then you want to make sure you live in life to its full abundance. I do. I don't want to shortchange. I don't want to be shortchanged in this life. I want to live life to its full abundance. To its full abundance, Mr. Hart. Not way. When I take my last breath and I leave this earth, I want to say that I live my life to its full abundance. Total. And what does that mean for me? What it means for me may be different than what it means for you. Not woulda, shoulda, coulda. Not second guessing. Not wishing I would have done this and that, the other, and the third. That's not how I want to live this life. This gift of life that we all been given. Most people don't see it as a gift, but I truly do see life as a gift. Some see it as a burden, and it's not a burden. Some have a disdain for life because they do these weird behaviors that make you shake your head and wonder, well, my goodness, do you really appreciate life? Do you really have a respect for life? Because you should. This is not a religion. If you're here for a religion, you're in the wrong place. Just like the Master Yeshua. He talked about this many times. He said, we want to have life, and we want to have that life more abundantly. Who said life isn't a burden? I say life isn't a burden. Life is a blessing. Truly is. Our Bible tells us that life is a blessing, and those that believe in the Bible should understand that as well. If they read it, is that life is truly a blessing. It's not a burden. It's not a burden whatsoever. So again, if you have that understanding, then you need to go and truly assess yourself. Truly and understand what really is important, you see. So that's very important for us to understand, is that we have to do an assessment ourselves. And understand, okay, what's important and what's not. Who needs it and who doesn't. What is the meaning of life? You see? What is the meaning of life? It's so very important for us to understand. And life does have meaning. You know what life means? Whatever you want life to mean. Whatever you want life to mean, that's what it's going to mean. However you want life to be, that's what life is going to be. But for us, the children of Israel, we see life in a total different light, don't we? And it's what happens in between, from when we're born to when we die, that makes the difference. Not waiting to die. Nobody waiting around to die, and then what's going to happen afterwards. I mean, what kind of process is that? But yet, many folks are conditioned to think that very same way. It's to just go through life, waiting to die, to see what's going to happen on the other side. You know what I mean? And I'm like, my goodness, No, you have life now. You need to live it to its do and meet all the desires that you desire for yourself. All the dreams that you want for yourself. And like some folks say, have heaven here on earth. What a concept, right? But it's a concept that can happen if you want that for yourself. You see? It's to have life here on, have heaven here on this earth. And then, just like we're taught by the Kohen, from strength to strength, is to go from one life strength to the next life strength to life even more stronger. Yeah. We give thanks. We're energy. We're energy. We don't die. We just change form, don't we? And when you understand that, when you come from source energy, source powers, Bukashim, you just go from strength to strength. You just go from one life strength to the next life strength to the next life. So in this life that we have now, let's deal with it. Deal with the let's just say ingredients of life in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Ruth is saying it has been a year since I have been a part of this family. I made more progress in my life. I manifested a house, dreams, become was dream, now was reality. So much more blessings to come. Thank you so much, Rabbi Simon and Rabbi for the awesome teachings. To top of that, Ruth, teacher, Ruth here. So we give thanks, and there's more to come, Ruth, because that more to come is whatever you desire for yourself. Okay? Whatever you desire for yourself. That's what it's all about. Whatever you desire for yourself. That's what it's all about. At the end of the day, we're not here running after no religion. Whatever you desire for yourself in your age, whatever age you want to be. What's important to understand? So very important. And so many people miss it. It's because they seek it for things that they can't find. But when you find yourself, you found everything. Baruch Hashem. And that's so very important. Shema says, life is like an aluminum can. Baruch Hashem. However you see life. I can't tell you how you see life is wrong and how I see life is right. I mean, that's not justice, right? That's definitely justice, and it's not fair. However you see life. Come on, Mishpah, let's face it. We're not here for no by and by. I'm here for the now and now. If you're here for the by and by, you're in the wrong place. But if you're here for the now, you're in the right place. Here, what now? Not what's going to happen 20 years down the road. What's happening in your life right now? Not what's happening to your neighbor. What's happening to you right now? What do you want for yourself right now? What do you desire for yourself right now? Now, what we've been equipped with the Kohen in the gate is he gives us tools that helps us, that alleviates so-called burdens that we have, or just issues that are non-issues. I feel like God being connected to the Kohen, that these so-called issues that manifest in my life are not issues, or these issues that I imagine on my own, because nobody else is doing it. I'm imagining these things on my own, are non-events. I mean, if you understand what I'm saying, they're like non-events. And I've been so equipped with tools to help me deal with the non-events that I imagine on my own, that just pop up in my imagination. They're non-events, and I excuse them away just like that as non-events. We look at the Sota, and we say, well, how does the Sota pertain to me? I mean, what can I glean from the Sota? And at the end of the day, now let's read this, because I think it's important. Let's go to our books. I want to read this, because I'm going to sum up the Sota. The Sota's getting ready to get summed up. The Torah is going to sum up the Sota for me. I don't have to. So I'm just going to read the Torah. The Torah is going to sum up the Sota for me. in Numbers chapter 5. At the end of Numbers chapter 5, what the Sota is, sung by the Torah. I'm not a Kohen, so I'm not going to go into all the stuff that Kohen does, but what you do need to understand is that for the Sota to really even take effect, is that you have to go to the Kohen. But before I want to read this, is what we read from our books and what you need to understand and glean from our Parsha Naso is this. And that's still in Numbers chapter 5. Look at verse 6. Again, I read from the Abrahamic-Faith Bible. Speak to the children of Israel. When a man or a woman shall commit any sin that men commit to do a trespass against Yahweh, that person be guilty. I'm going to stop right. And it goes in verse 7, confessing your sin. Not confessing to Jesus, but confessing your sin. Now, these things take place. Any sin, and that person be found guilty, who finds him guilty? Does a consensus of Israel? No. If you read on, you continue to read on, it's all about centralized of the Kohen, that the person must go to the Kohen to be found guilty or not guilty. The Kohanim decide. The Kohanim, like we described earlier, decides even if it's a sin. If a sin is a sin. Or if it's not even a sin, then it doesn't have to be dealt with. But that will be based on what the Kohen decides. The Kohanim are the... So, in asking the question earlier, who handles sin, I think Yahya 1:10 answered, it's the Kohen. They're the sin handlers. They handle the sin. And just like Luxury Class said, being the student of the Kohen, you know what is missing the mark. How are you missing your mark? See, again, every lecture that you get from the teaching you how to handle your sin. They're the sin handlers. Because what he's teaching us to do is how to meet our marks, not miss them, but to make our marks and meet them. And then come up with new marks and then meet those. That's what life is all about. Just meet your mark, mark after mark. Go from strength to strength, go from mark to mark. Go for Shem. Just as happy and humble and healthy as you want to be. But sometimes in life, there are stumbling blocks that come up, like detours to prevent us. Because sometimes we can focus on the wrong things as witness and testimony to what's going on in North America this day, much less what's going on around the world. Sometimes we can get distracted from what's really important because of what's in our face. And we forget the relevance, and we forget the structure and the order of how our life should be run because of what we see before our face, or what we see with our eyes. And if you look around with just the layman's vision, you say, man, the world is going to hell in a handbasket real quick. Right? But what you don't see is the underlying. What you don't see is what's really going on behind the scenes, is that the many blessings that are around the world, even in this time of chaos, so-called chaos, and so-called turmoil, and so-called destruction and disaster, is that big blessings happening. But many people miss this. I was listening to this one guy talk about the stock market and the stock market crashes and this, that, the other, and the third. And he said something that was quite interesting, that even when the stock market just crashed and everything went to hell in a handbasket, is there were more buying opportunities in the stock market during that time than there were selling opportunities. Imagine that. When just money is just crashing, that there were more buying opportunities during that time than there were selling opportunities. Do you get that? That's amazing to me. So I was thinking about it. I was like, wow, that's very interesting, quite telling. And you can take that and protract that into your life. That all the negativity that may be going on in your life, all the bad that you may see with your eyes, I mean, you see the market just dip down and just crash and it's the end of the world, blah, blah, blah. And yet, there's great opportunities in there. And as you all know, we just had a fall in the market now, Look at how the market's just roaring back. There's great opportunities. Who's to say the market's not going to come back down again? So again, the market can go up and down. That's life, right? Life will have its ups and downs. But how do we stay consistent? That's what the Kohen has given us, the tools to stay consistent with life. And not only stay consistent, but be persistent, and then also what? Dominate. Where you can dominate this life. But what we need to look at today, what I want to look is the J word. Is the J word. You see, because what we see associated with the Sota, and let's sum up the Sota real quick as we look at Numbers chapter 5. Let's sum up the Sota real quick. In a nutshell, just like the Torah sums it up. We read from the Abrahamic-Faith Bible. You don't have that Bible, you can purchase it on Amazon. Great Bible to have. Just type in Rabbi Simon Altap's name and you'll see the Bible. Abrahamic-Faith Bible. Or maybe called the Hidden Truth We Break Scroll Bible. Get that Bible. That's a great tool to have in your library for your studies. Look at Numbers chapter 5, starting at verse 29. This is the Torah of jealousies. We'll come back to that in a minute. But again, real quick, let me ask you a question. How many of you in this room at one time or another have been jealous? This is the Torah of jealousies. Put up capital J. At one time or another, you righteous people in this room, how many of you at one time or another have been jealous? I mean, come on now. You know, if you can't say oh me, say oh my. At one time or another, you have been jealous. Nothing wrong with it. I mean, come on now. Listen, let's keep reading. This is the Torah of jealousies. Now, if the Torah would have to mention jealousy, then I'm pretty sure at one time or another we all have been jealous in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Let's keep reading. When a wife goes aside to another instead of her husband and is defiled, or when the Ruach, the spirit of jealousy, comes upon him and he be jealous over his wife and shall set the woman before Yahweh. And the Kohen, the priest, shall execute upon her all this Torah. You see, when sin happens, the sin handlers, which you see here is the Kohanim, let's keep reading in verse 31. Then shall the man be guiltless from iniquity, and this woman shall bear her iniquity. If she's found guilty, that is. And if she's found guiltless, because it can go either way. Once the handlers of sin deal with the situation. You know what I want you all to understand this day? Is that there is a spirit of jealousy. The Torah just mentions this. Where when the Ruach, the spirit of jealousy, comes upon him. Now, how many of you understand is that there is a cause for jealousy in some instances? You know, there is a cause for jealousy in some instances, as we see the case here in the Torah with the Sota. That there is a cause for jealousy in some instances. There is. How many of you have ever had the spirit of jealousy come upon you? We'll put up capital J. How many of you have ever had the spirit of jealousy come upon you? And you know it. You know it. I have in my relations with wives, I have had the spirit of jealousy come upon me. I have had it. I know exactly what the Torah is talking about. Now, again, I'm going to raise this point because it's important that you understand. Is that in some instances there is a cause for jealousy. But majority of the time I submit to you is that there is no cause for jealousy, yet people have it. Let me repeat that. In most cases, there isn't a cause for jealousy, yet people have it. In some instances, there is a cause for jealousy. And even the Ruach, the spirit of jealousy, will come upon you. I've had that inkling. Some people call it an inkling. Some people call it a vibe. Well, you just know something not right. How many know what I'm talking about? Well, you just know something not right with your relations. I'm telling you, I've dealt with this firsthand. I'm letting you know. I'm telling you. I have dealt with this firsthand experience where you just know. You call it an inkling. Luxury class say he get knots in the stomach. It may be different things for different people. But I'm telling you, I get this sense. I get this sense. It's like, man, something ain't right here. Something's not right. In relations. Now, you always know that jealousy is always going to be associated with relations. In some way, shape, form, or fashion. It don't have to be the sexual relations under the sheets type. It can be any kind of relations. Between a man and a woman, a man and a man. What do you mean by a man and a man, Rabbi? I'm talking about when one man gets a job that's better than the next man, and the man is jealous because he didn't get the job, or he's jealous because this man is making money a lot easier and working smarter and not harder, while the other man is digging ditches and he don't like it. That's jealousy. Man. Cain and Quainan and Habil, exactly. Jealousy, 101. Poster boys. Poster boy relationship for jealousy. Jealousy has its cause, but majority of the time, it is misplaced and misused and is a stumbling block in relations. I'm going to say that because it's true. We have to see jealousy for what it is. And Mishpachah, you have to be able to recognize jealousy. Just like the husband and wife relationship, that's a relationship. The husband will kind of know when things are off. Look at verse 13 of Numbers chapter 5. And a man has intercourse with her, and it be secret from the eyes of her husband, and be kept closed, and she be defiled, and there is no witness against her, neither was she caught. You see, sometimes they think you can get away with. Look, I'm telling you, I've dealt with this firsthand. I'm talking to you from experience here. And look at verse 14. It played out just like this, and the Ruach Spirit came upon him. You see, because, she thought she's getting away with it. But the Ruach, the spirit of jealousy came up in him. Like, wait a minute. Something not right here. After having relations with my wife, like I've always had relations with my wife in that way that husband and wife have relations, something's not right here. That's that spirit of jealousy. So, here you go. God's telling you and teaching us that, okay, sometimes there is a cause for jealousy. Jealousy does have its place. But the majority of the time today, in today's time, jealousy is what? It's misplaced and it's misused, and it's a relationship wrecker. And you want to know why? It's because the jealousy is not dealt with. It's not handled like it's handled with the sota. You see, the husband didn't just get the spirit of jealousy strangling his wife. No. The husband got the spirit of jealousy, and if you read, the scenario of the sota and how it needs to be played out, is that, okay, now he's going to take it to the Kohen. Because, how many of you understand, Torah is the best law in anybody's land. So the woman may be presumed guilty, but she's innocent until the case is handled by the Kohanim, or the Kohen in this instance. Experts in how to deal the sota. Now let's look at the recipes. Let's look at what we're dealing with here. Let's look at the recipes that we're dealing with here with jealousy and what goes on. You see? And what literally does happen. Because these things are important. But we have to lay the foundation of what's going on here. Is that in any case, the case must be brought before the Most High, the Master Yahweh. It must be brought before. You can't condemn somebody based on, on what? On what you think? And this is where jealousy really begins to spread like a cancer. Because you keep condemning people, you keep condemning people, you keep being jealous for just no reason. You have no reason to be jealous, yet you're jealous. And then on top of that, you never deal with the jealousy. So then what happens? It begins to spread like a cancer. And it begins to consume you. And you never accomplish nothing in life. You live a shell of a life because your life is just full of jealousy. Your body is just full of the cancer of jealousy. And your mind is consumed with jealousy. And that it can go from one relation to the next relation. Oh, I'm jealous with this person. Now I'm jealous about this person because they have that. I'm jealous with this person because they doing this. I'm jealous about this person because they don't give me this, but they get that other person this. And blah, blah, blah. Do you see what I mean? It begins to spread like a cancer. Now you're jealous of everybody at work. Now you're jealous of your siblings because, you know, they got a new house and you don't. Now you're jealous of your mother and your father for whatever reason. And your life just becomes consumed with jealousy. Torah here just opens up and begins to explain the sota. See how jealousy can creep in and take a... It don't have to be sota. It don't have to be dealing with a relationship between a husband and a wife. And actions taken outside of the relationship, that marital relationship. There are marriages on many levels besides the husband and wife level. I couldn't even talk about this, about the whole essence of how one is two, or one can be 10, or one can be 20, but one is plural, one is more than one, but one can be one. And when the husband and wife come together, the two become one. And there's a magic to it, isn't it? To where you see that oneness in that relationship. And that's the closeness. I guess that's the best way we can describe it in our human relations. To when a husband and wife come together and they literally become one. Because how many of you know what I'm talking about? They know each other on a total different level. You know what I mean? And sometimes they can say, start a sentence and the other side can complete it. I mean, that's that oneness. And that's what our Clay was talking about when he was talking about relations. He was like, well, for some people, the lockdown is good because they love their husband and their significant other, while some people, it's just a total disastrous type of situation, having the two live under the same roof. That's a prime example. Difference between good relations and bad relations. Difference between the blessing of being on lockdown and the curse of being on a lockdown with your family. Your family, your family. For some people, that's a curse. Whilst for others, it truly is a blessing. And it has brought the family even closer together. Baruch Hashem. And that bond between the two is even closer. The two monks, the 2.5 and the dog and the children and everybody else. Kick, bang, and caboodle. You see? So it's very important that we do understand is that jealousy has its place. But again, if you don't deal with the jealousy, if you don't deal with it, Mishpah, that's when it becomes a problem. But to be able to deal with jealousy, you must be able to recognize it. This is why I asked earlier, how many of you people have been jealous before? Some of you may have been jealous, but you just don't recognize it. You have to recognize it and then be able to deal with it. How do I deal with it? You go to the Kohen in the gate. Not just for, just for the jealousy of the relation with the husband and the wife, the Sota situation. But jealousy can be preventing you and hampering you from meeting your desires. You ever thought about that? that could be the stumbling block that's in your way. This is why you need to do an internal assessment. We all need to always be on guard and do internal assessments about jealousy. Now with the Sota, the whole procedure, and I'm not going to go into it because you can go read it for yourself, but the whole procedure deals with several things. Deals with several things that we want to look at. The ingredients of the Sota. Can anybody tell me? I think Luxury Class, you mentioned one of the ingredients earlier. One of the ingredients of the Sota is the process of what? Drinking water, isn't it? How many of you agree with that? That's one of the recipes for dealing with the Sota. Is that the Kohen is going to actually make the woman going to go through some processes and procedures, but at the end of the day, the woman's going to have to drink some water. How many of you agree with that? You read the Parsha, the students of the Torah, you understand that the process of the Sota is drinking water. How many of you get that? Now, I want you to see something in this, because the spirit of jealousy comes up, and we're going to deal with this jealousy by making this person. I want to see the association between jealousy and drinking water. There's a connection here. And it's even going to go deeper than that in a minute. But the drinking of water means, think about this for a minute, the ramifications. Justifications as well. To stave off jealousy, you have to be careful what water you drink in Mishpahah. Think about it for a minute. An assessment of your jealousy. Look, what am I taking in? Who am I utilizing to nourish me? Because what does water do at the end of the day? It gives nourishment, doesn't it? It quenches thirst, doesn't it? It helps it helps the body function properly, right? So ask yourself this question. What kind of water am I taking in? Am I taking in bitter water? The woman had to drink this bitter water. It's bitter water. What kind of waters am I taking in? If you have this jealousy issue, I'm telling you, the Kohen is he's gonna help you deal with this. But you see, what you have to do is maybe change some of these behaviors. Number one is what kind of water are you drinking? Who are you listening to? Who's feeding your mind all the time? Are you listening? You hearing like a bunch of birds and gossiping here and there, on the phone all the time, gossiping about nonsense. You speak, talking at the water cooler at the job about nonsense and about you not getting somebody else getting position and you jealous of that position. This person got this award. You don't like it because this person. You see where we're going with that? What kind of water are you taking in? What kind of water are you ingesting? Now, as some of you stated earlier that have the Abrahamic-Faith Bible, you know the Sota judgment goes back to the garden, doesn't it? Some of you connected it with Lilith. Wise connection. And we see if you found guilty that it's going to blow you up, and I'm paraphrasing, but you're going to blow up, your stomach's going to blow up, and just like Lilith did, she actually, her body turned into a snake, literally. Now, as we deal with the snake front, and if you have the Abrahamic-Faith Bible, boy, it explains it so beautifully. This was the sort of judgment that the person was found guilty. The individual woman was found guilty. Now, as we deal with a snake, let's look at this for a minute. What are some of the associations, when we say the word snake, what's the associations? What is a snake notorious for? Anybody tell me? And your observations of snakes, what are they known for? What's notorious about snakes? Anybody, you want to take a shot at it? You like watching National Geographic and you see a lot of snakes and all that stuff, and or you've seen some snakes, maybe you kill one in your garden or something like that, to save your family, protect your family. What are snakes associated with? Eddie says Moses' staff, even Pharaoh's protecting the children of Israel from the poisons in the wilderness. Yael woman here says cold-blooded. They're cold-blooded animals, indeed, and cold-blooded for sure. Yael woman 10. But what do you look at a snake? What are they associated with? Eddie says something that's important. Poison. Think about poison for a minute. Venomous, Eddie's right. Blooded, Lilith. When you think about a snake, let's get to it. Let me take you there. How about a forked tongue? They stick that tongue out, and it's like forked tongue, isn't it? In their mouth. Where does that poison come from? You touching them? No. It comes from their bite, from their mouth, right? What does that tell you about jealousy? Now, we put all this together with jealousy here. What does that tell you about jealousy? What's coming out of your mouth? Number one, the association with drinking. You got to take something. To drink something, you got to take it in via mouth, unless you got IVs and you got to go in there intravenously. But you're only taking something by mouth. And then the association with the snake and the forked tongue. That tongue that sticks out, and it's like a fork. When you see the direction. And the poison that can come from the bite of a snake from its mouth. Think about these things for a minute as we associate and connect this with jealousy. So number one, we need to be watching what we say. We need to guard and be paying very close attention to the syntax that comes from our mouth. Is it poisonous? Are you always trying to bite somebody when you speak? Your speech, I mean, you can just be trying to hold a conversation in a relation, but you're speaking just so venomously, Eddies. And I'm using your word, I don't mean you're venomous. You're total opposite of venomous. You're sweet water, Eddie. You're sweet Bukashin. Or like they say down south, you're soda water. Soda water. From Brazil. All right, Pharaoh. Let me let Pharaoh up. So let's associate these now, because this is very important. You need to understand the ingredients of jealousy so you'll know how to get away from it. If you don't have it in your DNA, you'll know how to steer clear of people who do. So this is a double-sided sword here. Number one, if you have it, you're going to have to get with it. Get with the coin, because this could be holding up. And believe me, if something's poisonous, if something's venomous, if something, do you think that's going to have effect on your manifestations? I submit to you, absolutely it will. It's going to hinder you from manifesting. It reminds me of another snake that's renowned down there in Florida. What snake am I talking about? How many of you want to take a guess at that snake? I mean, they're paying people to catch snakes down there in Florida. They're not indigenous to Florida, by the way. They were introduced to Florida, and now they're just eating up all the habitat down there. The python, if you didn't know, for you National Geographic lovers like I am. The python, you can go down there and hunt the python, and the state of Florida paying you. They're paying you to kill these, and you turn them in, you get money for killing them, because they're just killing up, taking on the wildlife. And how do they do that? Python do it. He squeezes you, don't he? He squeezes you to death. I mean, he'll squeeze the life out of you. And that's just what's happening with your manifestations. They're being squeezed to death. Just like the python, So you never reach your desires and your dreams. Because they're being squeezed out. Because you got that spirit of jealousy upon you. You don't have the spirit of jealousy, you're just plain jealous. And that's your makeup. Because you desire that to be your makeup. And you may not know that you're doing it, but we're going to expose it today. So that way you can steer clear of people who are like this. Or if you have this problem, then you need to know 1-800-DOLLAR-COHEEN. You need to know who to get to fix this, so that you can begin to open up your manifestation stream. and connect that positive energy instead of your energy being just like strangled out of you, like the python does. He grips onto you, he don't let go. Anybody ever seen a python take out a creature, an animal? My goodness. But that's what happens. That's just what happens, Miss Pahar. It's the jealousy factor. The jealousy can take you down if not handled correctly. You see, Torah in Numbers chapter 5 gives us the great example of how you handle jealousy. It's a process and procedure. You go through the steps, you deal with it. Either the person is going to be found innocent or guilty upon examination, Kohen. And that's it. And then it's dealt with, and then life moves on. But if you don't deal with it, what happens? Life don't move on. Life stays stagnant. Life may even go in reverse and start decreasing. I couldn't talk about this, and they say, you know what? If your life is doing, if you're doing real good, if you know you're in the house of the king, you should be. It should be a physical presentation of that. And that's what you should see. But if you're not, my goodness, then you need to do more assessment. And one of the biggest things is this jealousy factor. And it's here. I'm telling you, it's here. Some folks call it the spirit of jealousy, but it's not the spirit of jealousy. The spirit of jealousy can be dealt with. It's not a spirit of jealousy. The individuals just choose to be jealous. Jealous is their DNA. They just choose to do that. They choose. They're not happy unless they're jealous. And there's people that's like that. You have to steer clear of those kind of people. And you definitely don't need to be that kind of person. Because you're never going to get nothing accomplished in your life if you're that way. And if you do, listening via YouTube or you live in this room, after this lecture, you say, wow, maybe I do have some jealousy in me that I need to deal with. Then you need to go to those who can deal with the jealousy. Because if you don't, then jealousy turns into sin. Is it a sin to be jealous? No. It's a sin not to deal with the jealousy. It's a sin not to deal with it. Because then what that jealousy does is it prevents you from meeting your marks. Right, luxury class? It'll prevent you from meeting your marks. Because you become consumed with jealousy. And then night and day, that's all you think about. Oh, she say she going to work. Is she really going to work? Why is she going to work in them kind of clothes? You know, and before you know it, your whole mind is consumed. You can't think of nothing else but, oh man, the jealousy factor. Oh, why he got a bigger house? Why her clothes nicer than my clothes? How come she all those things and I don't get nothing? Oh my goodness! And then just, I mean, it's just like, my goodness, nothing good came from that, right? Not a popular subject to want to talk about, but it needs to be talked about. We need to put jealousy on the forefront so we can recognize jealousy for what it really is. And any judge worth their weight, they'll be able to see through it. They'll be able to see jealousy for what it really is. Let me tell you something. Jealousy don't hide. I'm going to let you know that right now. Jealousy doesn't hide. It doesn't hide. It doesn't hide. You just have to sit back and watch it. It'll play. And how's it going to play out? It's going to play out by bitter water. It's going to play out by poison. It's going to play out by what comes out on that forked tongue. I mean, if you hear me this day, I'm telling you, this is how jealousy is going to play out. Jealousy can't hide. You can't hide jealousy. Jealousy is shown. It puts itself to you. Question is, how are you going to deal with the jealousy factor? first of all, you have to recognize jealousy for what it really is. And then deal. And my desire on this day was to present to you methods being able to deal with it, but more importantly, present to you telltale signs of how to recognize jealousy. Jealousy can wreck relations. One person, at one time you may have loved one person, but at the next time you don't love them anymore. I can guarantee you, a majority of these situations that we've seen today from this lockdown is based on jealousy. With these couples that are cooped up together, married, by the letter of the law, but no deed and no action behind it. You get where I'm going? So if you would do an assessment on this, you would find that majority of these relationships, you could diagnose them with jealousy. Not the spirit of jealousy, just downright jealousy. They jealous. For whatever rhyme or reason. For whatever they want to throw on it. What's out there on the forefront on their foreheads is a capital J for jealousy. Just jealous. And they choose to be that way. And they're happy being that way. Instead of flipping the script and saying, okay, so what they have that? That's not what I want anyway. This is what I want for myself. This is what I desire for myself. This is what I'm going to have for myself. I desire to be happy. I don't desire to worry about other people's business because I'm too busy minding my own business. In my mind, I'm minding my own business. What do I want for myself? What do I desire for myself? What kind of house do I want? What kind of car do I want? What kind of family do I want? What kind of husband do I want? What kind of hair do I want? I'm not going to sit here criticizing and condemning and putting people down, spewing out poison from my mouth, drinking bitter waters by listening to all of these teachings outside of what you should be listening to in the first place, thus making you bitter and jealous. Watch it now. Can't say oh me, you better say oh mine. But this is what happens. Jealousy takes you down a road I dealt with, down a road of sin. Because you will miss your mark time and time and time again. Time and time. Don't be preoccupied with jealousy. Don't be preoccupied with jealousy. Because when you preoccupy yourself with jealousy will occupy you. Jealousy will become like a squatter. You know what a squatter is. I mean, they'll get in a house and they won't leave. You know what a squatter is? That's just what a squatter is. And jealousy will do that. You get in your house and he won't leave. She won't leave. Stay there. And just using up all your resources. And not giving you anything back. Because you don't want to deal with it. You don't see jealousy. Well, I don't see it as jealousy. I see it as just this. I see it like I'm being treated, blah, 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 blah. Don't try to disguise it. See, I don't want you to disguise it. I want to put it on the forefront. I want you to put it on the forefront to be able to deal with it. You have to deal with it. You have to recognize it. If you don't see it, then you get with the Cody to help you see it. And it's jealousy, man. Why am I not affirming things in my life? Maybe because of jealousy. Jealousy is a squatter in your house. Using up all your materials and leaving you with nothing. Poisoning everything that you touch. Wow. That's the real deal on the ground. Mishpahah. So many people, they look at the Sotah, they read it in our book. Oh, that don't pertain to me. That's why I want to take it to another level. Yes, it does. There's a difference between the spirit of jealousy and just being just downright jealous because you're jealous. I've seen the difference in my life. When the spirit of jealousy raises up, you'll know it because something's just not like you all described, like I get this knot in my stomach. Things are out of place. But jealousy in itself, drinking bitter water. What's coming out of your mouth, what's going into your mouth. Think about that for a minute. Poison, the forked tongue. Think about these things for a minute. Characteristics of the snake. Sly, like some of you described, sly. Cold-blooded. How many of you heard somebody say that about a person? You just cold-blooded. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that I like that y'all woman to tell because that's true. A lot of people on the face of this earth just cold-blooded. They don't care. They give two hoots about them destroying anything you want to do. They don't care. They're angry and they want everybody around them to be angry. This is why you need to get out of the angry bird camp. This is why you need to get out of the jealousy camp. If you associate with jealous people, what does that make you? Clean? Listen, if I go around a group of people with a bunch of dog poop on them, and I hang around these people, am I not start smelling like dog poop? And for a minute. Think about that for a minute. So these are the things that we need to consider going forward. And I'm going to close it up. I'm going to stop there. I'm going to stop there for today because I think enough said about jealousy and the spirit of jealousy. But spirit of jealousy is quite healthy, by the way. It's like an antenna that kind of nudges you and say, hey, wait a minute, something not right. You all need to have that sense when it comes to relations. And then be able to act upon it. The reason why the spirit of jealousy came up is why? It's because so-called things were going to get done in secret. Nope, when the spirit of jealousy, was instituted to reveal. To reveal what was meant to be done in secret. Think about that for a minute. The spirit of jealousy was instituted and initiated to reveal what was initially supposed to be done and kept secret. Wow. Stop at that in one month. So on that note, I'll wrap it up for this Shabbat. I love you and I leave you in the mighty hands of the most high powers. You all have a great 6 days ahead. Kohen, looks like Simha wanted the name of the angel for the lunar eclipse that was mentioned. Simha, we'll get that to you. You're in the valley, Simha, but you're on top of the mountain, baby girl. Keep it positive. Positive. Get these things out of the way that may be blocking you. If there's any kind of blockers in your way, you got to do assessments on yourself and see, well, where am I at with my manifestation? Where am I at meeting my marks? How can I improve? I would encourage you all to try different things. Try different things. Some things may be more suited to you than for other folks. Like the one student of Rabbi Simon that's manifesting. Quite intriguing to hear that, he's not doing too much scripting, but he is listening to the audio, and things are working for him. Kohen's audio, MP3s, powerful indeed. So, different strokes for different folks. We're the same family, but we're different tribes, right? So things may work different for different folks. You see? So I would encourage you to test different things and see what works for you. And then just when it works, rinse and repeat. That's all you have to do. We're unique, we're different. We're different and we're unique. But we're different. And that's what makes us unique. And that's the beauty of it. So if you notice, our Kohen is giving us different ways. There's different ways of going about your way. Meeting your marks. There's so many different ways. There's unlimited different ways. So don't put limitations on it. If it works for you, don't say, well, I'm stopping because this didn't work. No. Try something different. Never give up. Never give up. Try something different. I would encourage you to do that. Just try something different. Don't give up. Yeah, you may throw your little temper tantrum for a minute. Come out of that, and then go back and try something another way. Test it another way. Test it, just try different things. Keep trying. I'm your biggest cheerleader. You see me over there. I'm not going to wear the miniskirt. I'll be over there in the pants, but I'm cheering you on with the pom-poms. Just keep trying different things. And then when you find something that works for you, stick with it, and then just rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. Now, Sean is learning how to crawl. and when he takes it, he's trying things, it's like, okay, so he's trying to crawl. That's not working. Now he's got the little butt in the air thing. That's kind of working for him. But I notice sometimes he'll try, and he'll just give up. And he'll just start throwing his little temper tantrum for a minute, and then he says, okay, he will go back at it again. So don't stay in the temper tantrum stage. Just keep crawling. Keep trying to crawl until you find out what method works for you. And then you realize that over time, when you repeat that over and over, oh man, you're an expert at crawling. You're an expert at meeting your mark. Because you keep practicing that same method that works for you over and over again. Thus becoming an expert. How do you get expertise? With experience. So you have to keep experiencing it over and over again. And I'm right with you, Mishpah, doing the same thing over and over and over again. And then you'll find you'll begin to attract different tools. Different tools will come your way that'll help you, that'll benefit you. That'll be a blessing and not a curse to you, to help you along the way, to make you even more happier, more healthy, more humble, more hilarious, and that's what we need to do, keep it moving forward. So, Shabbat Shalom and Shalom Shalom to all of you, Yishmaha. My desire is that you have a great 6 days of labor ahead. You do great things, you help many people. You do great things for the people that are around you. And that's how you publish the name of the Master Yahweh. That's how you do it. Over to you, Akohim. We're going to wrap it up. And then we love you and leave you in the mighty hands of the Most High. Shabbat Shalom and Shalom Shalom.
Todah for that, Rabbi Kefa. Todah. The story of the Sota that Rabbi Kefa mentioned in brief is to do with the Simcha is to do with the story of the book of Genesis chapter 2 and 3. The angel's name is Cassiel. I've written it down for you. So the story is a relationship, is that just as a Kohen can write a blessing, and writing is speaking euphemism. If he can write a blessing, he can also write a curse. That's basically what the story is detailing in a nutshell. Also, the fact that the Sota is really the story of Lilith, who came into the garden and deceived Eve, and that's what got both Adam and Eve kicked out of the garden. Lilith happens to be the first wife of Adam, and because of the idolatry that she committed, adultery and idolatry both, what's known and not much spoken about in traditions, and her name was in Torah, it was blotted out. She was the first wife of Adam. She ran away with an angel and married him. That's the tradition. Now, the remnants of that you can find in the Torah because her name was there, but it was blotted out. Now it's kind of hidden in secret. This is called the serpent in the book of Genesis. Anyhow, that's just too brief to give you that. So, the Kohanim, the priesthood, has both the power to write a blessing, meaning they can write or speak, and they can write a curse or speak it. Both are true. I'm not going to give you I'm not going to give you an example of that in real life, because probably it's not appropriate publicly to give an example of a curse, because people can misuse it and misunderstand it. But suffices to know that you can write for yourself a blessing. She can be. Olivia, she can be called the beast of the field in Torah as well. And I wanted to point out a few things that might be beneficial to you regarding a death of a loved one during this time, which you may or may not be aware. What happens when somebody dies, what you should be doing is you should take a piece of cloth and you should take a commi pin or a nappy type pin or something, and you should attach it to your chest. Because traditionally, Torah commands us to tear your clothes when something like this happens. But of course, if you're going to tear your Walmart t-shirt, or I don't know, maybe you bought it from JCPenney, or maybe you got it in some other superb store out there, Macy's maybe, who knows. So maybe you spent a lot of money on it, and you may not want to tear your t-shirt apart. Maybe it's a gift from somebody, So what we do is we take a little piece of cloth and we attach it to the t-shirt as a commemoration of the person that died, and that is done for 7 days. So from today, for 7 days, that will be done in my part. Also, for 7 days, I have to be on a diet of a rudimentary diet of lentils, as a sitting in Shiva. Sitting in Shiva is something that even Jacob did as well in his time when Abraham died. And we are not allowed to teach Torah for a whole week. We're not allowed to go out and do business and things like that. We're basically trying to avoid all of those things as much as we can. That's, by the way, practical Torah. Now, you may ask, how come I was teaching Torah today? If that is the case, how come I taught today? Wouldn't that be contravening the Torah? And the answer is no, it's not, because today is the Sabbath. So my uncle's death fell on the Sabbath, and we are not allowed to be miserable on the Sabbath. We're not allowed to have a sad face on the Sabbath. We are supposed to be joyful on the Sabbath, so therefore I have to teach the Torah on the Sabbath. But as soon as the Sabbath passes tonight, then the memorial bit starts. Then the commemoration starts, the commiserations, and that will last till beginning of next Shabbat. So that's basically a little bit for you to know that how you are supposed to react when somebody that you love dies. You should be doing the same thing, because that is Torah in practice and working order. It's all nice and dandy to read about different passages in Sabbath, but you need to know what is practical Torah. How do we keep Torah? What do we do? So during this time, we also try not to engage in business transactions, and other things. So, as much as possible, humanly possible, people should try to avoid it for that 1 week. And even traditionally, I'm here, my situation is different. Whereas when a person is alone, he may have to cook for himself, or he has to go out and buy food. But traditionally what happens is during this time, the persons are not allowed to cook. Other people have to bring food for them for these 7 days. That 7 days is Shiva. And that's all you're supposed to have remorseful thoughts, or, you do your eulogy, or you do the good thinking about the loved one that died, etc., etc. So in total, it's supposed to last, or in minimum, it lasts 1 week. And after that, you go about your normal business and you do what you need to do. But you can carry the period of just remembering your loved one, not necessarily wearing the little piece of cloth, because you can take that off after 1 week. You don't need to put that on after that. But you should carry it for a maximum of 28 days, maximum. No more than 28 days. And by the way, that's Torah. So I'm certain now that you know a practicality of Torah. As for affirmations, you need to think about what is it that you desire in your life, and then that is what you're going to write for yourself and speak in the air. And as I explained, that during the time of lunar or solar eclipses, it's very powerful to speak those affirmations. Remember, I told you to write some of your affirmations, not all of them, maybe 5, 6, 7, whatever you feel is enough, on a piece of card, like these index cards. Carry it around with you, and then speak that in the air towards the direction of east. East meaning where the temple is. Towards the direction of Jerusalem temple, and speak it, if you can, loudly, as long as there's nobody around you. If there's people around you, you can speak it in your mind. And you do that 2 to 3 times a day, every day, until that is cemented, and that is then what's going to come into your life. This kind of helps us to remove ourselves from unnecessary thinking of other things, unnecessary thoughts, mind wandering away for other bits and pieces. So we kind of center our mind, always bring it back, center it. Do your meditation daily, center your mind, so that you are a great tool. That you yourself are a great tool, but you need to know how to utilize yourself, is by these different subsets of tools that will help you. So with that, I'd like to thank you for coming today, and have a great Shabbat. And those of you whose Sabbath is finished, have a great week ahead. Shabbat Shalom, Shalom Shalom.